Okay. Rahmetli.
Այո,
Գուզեք անգլերեն խոսին, գուզեք հայերեն։ Եթե անգլերեն ավելի լավ է,
լավ չէ, անգլերենով ավելի հանգիստ կրնամ լալ, եթե
անգլերենով ունենք,
անգլերենով ունենք, նե transcribe գրնանք գնել, չեմ գիտեր եթե հայերենով ունենք, նե transcription-ը պիտի կարելի է լա։ Անգլերենով կարծեմ ավելի թյուրին է transcribe.
Then let's talk in English then.
Let's do it in English.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, let's do it in English. Thank you. I was living in Turkey and just struggling in Turkey to make Turkey as a democratic country, but unfortunately, I lost that hope now. It is going to be an authoritarian country for a long period, I guess. That is why I quit struggling in Turkey, because there was no point, because Turkish people have decided to walk this way, an authoritarian way. So I decided to play a non-partisan role about Turkish-Armenian relations and peace in the South Caucasus. But I have a huge experience in Turkey. I know how the Turkish mindset, I know Turkish politics and Azeri politics as well, and Armenian politics at the same time. And Turkish politics are mostly based on interests and let's say, and it is an opportunist policy. Of course, they are nationalists, they are somehow Islamists, but they care about their interests more and more, especially that kind of a leader. Erdogan is an opportunist leader. But after 2015, Erdogan, let's say, left the democratic path, as you know. Because he thought it is not working in his favor, and he made a coalition with the nationalists. And I saw this, that he ended the Kurdish conflict, peace process, and started to use sophisticated weapons against Kurds, let's say. Then I saw this as a threat against Armenians, because there was a conflict in Artsakh, which is unsolved. And I thought, and Turkey and Azerbaijan signed several agreements, defense agreements, as you know. Turkey started to share sophisticated weapons to Azerbaijan, and now Azerbaijan was buying sophisticated weapons from Israel and getting ready for war. This was a big threat, and I saw this, and I went to Armenia, and I told this to maybe all the Armenian world. There are several, media outlets just interviewed me about it, and I said the war is coming, something is coming, and I just spoke with Mr. Sarkisyan was the president, with the prime minister and everybody, that this is coming. So we have to do something in 2016 and 17. Even Turks were ready to negotiate about the rights and security of the people of Artsakh, and they were ready to give some kind of autonomy. I'm not saying that autonomy would mean something a lot, but at least we could somehow get some kind of a status for Artsakh. But, we were not ready to recognize our reality, face our reality. What is the reality? No, there was a status quo. We thought that status quo, we could sustain that status quo forever. But as you know, before and after wars, you might have an upper hand, but that upper hand never goes forever. That if you can get some kind of status after a war, which we could have that after 1996, but we lost that chance. Even we could have some kind of autonomy in 2016, but unfortunately, Mr. Sarkisyan was not there at all. He told me that, if I just make some concessions, diaspora is going to shout at me as you are a traitor, and I can't do that, whatever. So I believe, now after what we have suffered, was all about, being solid about building policies and seeing the coming threats and the opportunities for our nation. As you know, solid things can easily break. Yeah, if you just throw an ice to the floor, it breaks. But as you know, flexible policies which sees the coming threats and the opportunities, can see the threats and prepare their nation for the coming threats, or either tries to be strong as the coming threats or negotiates with the whatever coming threat to avoid your nation to live a catastrophe. But we were not there at all. That is why I believe we lived this catastrophe. Now, after what we have suffered, I believe we need to take a lesson out of what we have suffered, and we need to avoid a coming threat. There is another threat. No, of course, I have been vocal about this for months. No, after we suffered Artsakh catastrophe, now Armenia is at stake, and to avoid coming threat, we need some kind of unity in the nation, but we are not there at all. People after the catastrophe have started to just complain about each other, even blame each other, and even there was unrest in Armenia, and even there was calls for an assassination for Mr. Pashinyan, whatever. And maybe this is the biggest weakness of our nation, because in these dark days, nations unite, but there is no unity, and there is a division in the nation, and our enemies sees this as a weakness. That is why they have maximalist demands, and that's why they are asking for Zengezur corridor. That is why Russians are, let's say, trying to end democratic Armenia, which we have. By the way, I'm not I never supported Mr. Pashinyan, and I'm not in favor of any leader. I only care about Armenia. That's my only concern, because as you know, elected prime ministers, presidents doesn't matter. Your country matters. If your country matters, you need to focus on how you can save Armenia. Because if we lose Armenia, that we lost after 1921, as you know, with unrealistic dreams, we lost the First Republic, fighting with Turks and Azeris. We lost the First Republic to the Bolsheviks. Now there is a huge threat for us to lose our country and make that country as an orbit of Russia again, make it as a Belarus at the Caucasus. There is a huge threat for that. And we need to see this threat, and we need to unite to avoid this coming threat. That is.
Do you see any positive results or positive developments recently in the policy that they are pursuing now in Armenia towards approaching rapprochement to the West?
No, it's a very dangerous game, I must say. No, I must admit that. No, as you know, as you know, there are two failures about that. Georgia tried to just avoid the Russian, let's say, influence over Georgia. They just tried to approach to West, and Russia just hit Georgia in 2008, and still they live that trauma, and that Georgia is not in a good situation now again, and Ukraine as well. It's a failure. That's what I have to say, because we cannot ignore Russia. That's what I believe. But we can manage that. That is what at the same time I believe, because we are living in that geography. That is our fate, and we need to deal with Iran. We need to deal with Turkey. We need to deal with Azerbaijan and Russia at the same time. But gradually, I believe, we need to make our relations better with the West. Whatever we do, I guess, 60% of the tourists are coming from Russia. Our economy, the trade is down 60% again with Russia, and 80% of the energy is coming from Russia. So this means we are dependent to Russia. Of course, our defense is so much dependent on Russia. We need to gradually diversify dependency to Russia, but it needs to be gradually. If not, as you know, Russia is vulnerable. And Russia's symbol is a bear, as you know. A bear is, as you know, a dangerous animal. Even a wounded bear can be more dangerous than a normal bear. That's what I believe. So I'm in favor of Pashinyan government's trying to diversify policies about defense and other policies with the West, but it needs to be gradually. If not, Russia cannot do constructive policies against Armenia, but it can be destructive. It can still be destructive. Still, only, let's say, 2 weeks ago, we heard about an assassination plan against Pashinyan. And it can, again, use Azeristek, which is still using to destroy Armenia, because they are using, and anytime they can erupt provocations at the border again. Even they can start another war between Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Armenia, which is going to destroy Armenia. I'm sure about it, because we have started to buy arms. I'm so happy with it. Of course, defensive arms from France, from India, but we can't win that arms race for the short term. That's what I believe. It requires at least 5 years, maybe 10 years. I don't know.
We can never win the war against Turkey.
We can never win the war, but at least we can, with some technologies, let's say, Israel has the Iron Dome, let's say. Maybe having an Iron Dome will just make us get rid of those drones, whatever. Mr. Hreier might tell more about it. I don't know, air defense system or sophisticated weapons can just deter Azerbaijan to attack us, because when your enemy sees that attacking your enemy will not hurt you, they attack. But if they see the nation is united and they have defense systems which can hurt them as well, this might deter their ambitions. That's what I
believe. Shall we, if I may interject here, shall we go into, let me give you a little bit of background, Garo, about where we are with this questions that I sent you. I'll say it, I didn't put it in writing, but I'll tell you verbally. I'm supporting Girar Libaridian, who you may know about.
Of course, he's my friend.
Oh, okay. Well, Girar, he's doing the connections with the Armenian government.
Yes.
He went to see Pashinyan.
I know.
Oh, you know all of that? Yeah,
yes,
yeah. Well,
everything. I know every detail.
Oh, okay. Because we stood up a concept called ANSAT, Armenian National Security Assessment Team, which is what I used to do in the Pentagon. I talked to Girar. I said they need somebody, group that rapidly can address questions coming from the government, from the National Security Council. So we put that concept together. He took it to Pajab and said, absolutely, I want to stand it up. So you may be aware they're going to stand up a thing called ANSAT. In fact, they even picked up somebody who would lead it. So the very first question that came in had to do with Aliyev's diplomacy strategy. And Girar went to 9 subject matter experts who responded. They all came in. I spent a few days and I summarized it. And he took it to, we had several Zoom sessions with people in the National Security Council. Of course, Girar was involved all the time. And so we gave him the very first product, which is, again, what I just mentioned, which is an assessment of how Aliyev is playing his cards as he negotiates with Russia, with Turkey, with Europe, the US. And he's a very agile guy, as you know. You know him a lot more than I do, of course. But that was it. So that went in, and then Girard came back with this new question apparently that came in, and and I send that to you, which is, if we assume peace is coming, again, this is from them to Girard to me. If we assume peace is coming, what steps the government of Armenia and Azerbaijan can take in order to prepare the people in the two republics for peace and consolidate it once it is established? So that's
that is what I offered Girard to ask people. Maybe that's why he sent that email to you, I guess.
Oh, wow,
it is my project. No,
Yeah.
because as you know, if you leave everything to the politicians, right? Yeah, that peace doesn't have so much chance to live. You need to take people on board, civil society, let's say institutions, business people, artists, so many people on board to make that peace durable. So that is why I prepared those questions to Girard, and I have some offers to Girard. What are the steps should be taken? Then I guess he emailed you as well with some friends as well.
He sent it to several people, and I did too. I got about 7 responses to date. That people that I know who responded to me, and I'm beginning to summarize them. I haven't started yet because I'm waiting to the rest of the stuff to come in. And we had her name is, I can tell you her name. She works in the National Security Council, Lucine, and to be honest with you, I forget Lucine's last name. You probably know her in the Armenian government. So how would you like to proceed? Would you like to, since you've been involved in formulating the question, and I didn't know that, but then what I did is, in the process of thinking about this, I came up with some other things that I sent you in this Word document, some general topics, and then some questions specific to Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Turkey. So you tell us how you would like to proceed. I'm supposed to write this thing up. All this inputs, it's going to take me a few days. I'll summarize them in 8, 9, 10 pages, and I'll send them to Girard and to you too, of course, now, since you're involved in the effort. So, so how do you would like to proceed?
Girard, as you know, war is a simple thing. No, to start a war is a simple thing. Yeah, no, and in wars you try to destroy your enemy, whatever the price is. Look what Israel is doing, or Hamas is doing against Israel.
But Garo, I was involved in all the wars the U.S. was in Afghanistan, Iraq, and on, and each one of them we ran into huge troubles.
Exactly.
I know everything that happened. So
I know. Yeah, but soldiers don't think about the end game. No, they just have a mission to accomplish that they do. But now we need to now Azeris and Armenians paid so much price, and I know so many Azeris. I don't know if you know some Azeris as well, who believes in peace. But no, if we leave everything to that crazy Aliyev, which is a really nasty leader, and if we leave everything to Pashinyan as well, he's paralyzed. That's what I believe. He's he's under so much pressure, and everybody is blaming him or praising him. I don't know, but as a former politician, or still I call myself as a politician. Politicians need help from the peoples. Let's say from the civil society. Let's say Pashinyan has a peace agenda. He believes he needs to get rid of the enemies, but he can't get rid of enemies by war. But he can, or Armenia has security risks, as you know. You can't win the arms race, you need to lower the security risks by making peace with your neighbors, let's say. And with this, we need to have this peace deal, of course, first of all, and open the borders with Turkey and start to engage by all means, economically, diplomatically, culturally, and by all means. But, for this, until we have a mission to do before the peace deal, there are so many things to do to ease that day to come, that peace deal day to come, of course, confidence building measures, of course, and taking responsibility about engaging and believing in peace and seeing that peace is a necessity for Armenia. We have to believe this. Peace is a necessity for Armenia, but it is not a necessity for Azerbaijan. And it is not a necessity for Turkey as well. So taking this as a strategic point, we need to focus on peace, and we need to help this government, which has a peace agenda, to reach that peace deal. And what are the measures can be for that? I have a couple of options. And the day after the peace deal is very important. Now, because we have to, as civil society, organizations, NGOs, and business organizations need to take responsibility just the day after peace deal. Because I believe people-to-people relations are the most important thing to sustain that peace, that make that peace a durable peace is the most important thing. Because if we believe as Armenians, Turk is a Turk, Azeri is a Azeri, they did massacres, genocides, whatever. And if they don't just regret it, we will never engage. That is not a beneficial point for us. That is why I believe we need to have an open arms to just start this engage policy. It can start with this, with labeling your, let's say, Azeris and Armenians. We just tell them they are our enemies. I guess we start to call them our neighbors instead of our enemies. They are our neighbors, which we have several problems with. Let's say Turkey and Greece has several problems, as you know. They can't get along about Greek islands and so many issues, but they don't call each other enemies. They call each other neighbors, and they sometimes call each other NATO allies, but they don't tell they are enemies. Several times they had, as you know, dogfights in the Aegean Sea. Even last year, there was a huge opportunity for an escalation in the Aegean Sea, but still, they never called each other enemies because they had an open border. They have economic ties, diplomatic ties, cultural ties, and millions of tourists are going from Turkey to Greece and Greece to Turkey. They know each other. That is the biggest barrier before a war, because people, when some ultra-nationalist Turks shout at Greeks as enemies, people resist. No, they are not our enemies. They can't be our enemies. And in Greece as well, peace promoters, when the ultra-nationalist Greeks say they are enemies, they object to that point. No, they can't. They are not our enemies. Of course, we have problems with the Turks, but they are the nationalist Turks that we have the problem with. So we need to have this kind of a barrier to believing in peace. And at least I can start with this, labeling your Turks and Azeris not as an enemy, as a neighbor. We should start with that, but I can offer other steps as well.
You're mute, Raif.
You are mute.
Trying to make sure this noise here doesn't bother you. So that's good. Now, several people who have responded to this request in writing, and one of them was basically said, look, the Armenian government can do whatever it wants and such. At the end of the day, it's Aliyev who's going to decide how this peace process will proceed or not. So the way I read that is, well, you can do everything you want trying to convince the Armenian population. And I think I completely, by the way, agree with what you're saying, that we got to change our attitudes and start talking about the other as the deadly enemy, which gets us nowhere. But if Aliyev, if Nerses Kopalyan is right, and he's the one who sent me that, if Aliyev is key to all this, how do you change? And Aliyev is very smart. He's playing all his points in, he's all over the map. He negotiates here a little bit, there a little bit. So he's very agile. So how do you, and this question that has come in that you're involved in formulating, so how do you, so let me put this up again here. So how do you, so when it says what steps the the government of Azerbaijan can take in order to prepare the people in the two republics, obviously, Garo, that's going to depend on what Aliyev wants to do. So how could you influence that? Knowing how agile, and he's a very smart guy. He's not an idiot. And so anyway, over to you. I spoke too long.
No, I believe peace is the nightmare of Aliyev because he's a dictator. And he's sucking the blood of the Azeri people for decades.
Yep.
And no, he's so wealthy, and he and his people are so wealthy, and his people are poor. And no, how he consolidates his people is showing the enemy. About Arsaf policy was, as you know, as a national policy, we need to save Arsaf. For this, we need to buy weapons, this and that, and that corruption went on. And even the payroll in the Western capitals, as you know, there are scandals about it in the European Union, and even so many capitals, there is a payroll which Azeris are pouring money for that. But, I believe, peace is the nightmare of Aliyev. And if we can reach that peace, it is going to end Aliyev's card, to use Armenians as an enemy, to consolidate its people. And Azeris will start to ask, why are you so rich, and why am I so poor? And in that need, in Azerbaijan, I believe there will be some kind of a democratic movement. That's what I believe. Because I know Azeris, they don't deserve this as well, because this kind of an authoritarian regime, a dictatorship, I believe that we can see that kind of a movement. And if people ask, how can we trust Azerbaijan? How can we trust Aliyev? No, we had things to really to do some concessions. We had some cards, as you know, we had rayons, we had other issues to just sit at the table. Even Turkish government have told me if they can withdraw from 2 rayons to show the goodwill, we can start negotiations, whatever, it was 2015, 2016, whatever. As you know, those were the days. Now we have nothing to do any other further concessions. We have only Armenia, which is a red line, of course. Even it's a red line for everybody. No, I tell to the Turks this. Even Pashinyan wants to do further concessions, which he cannot, which he doesn't want. He cannot do any further concessions. He cannot say, okay, I'm just giving you Zengezur corridor, which is a sovereign territory of Armenia. So this is the end. We don't need to have fears about ourselves, because this is the red line for us. No, we will fight till the end, no, whatever our power is, diplomatically, militarily, to not to give further concessions. So this is this should be the Aliyev's nightmare. We should be pursuing peace, and he is going to be the one running away from table, which is happening. No, until last month, no, they ran away from the European Union's table. They ran away from United States table. Then they offered bilateral talks, which they thought Armenians would say no. And I also was in favor of it. I just recommended so many people to say yes to it, bilateral talks, which is happening from the back channel. And there was progress. When Aliyev saw this, he started running away from bilateral talks as well. This shows this is the nightmare of Aliyev, because our principles are so basic: territorial integrity, sovereignty, border demarcation, and about the transportation lines, we will not do any concessions about our sovereignty. Those are so basic things. And in this world, human rights are not, as you know, sacrosanct in this world anymore. 30 years ago, it was a sacrosanct. Now it is not, unfortunately. The world have entered a dark era. But what is the sacrosanct is the territorial integrity, as you know, about Ukraine and other conflicts, territorial integrity. Now, for 30 years, Azerbaijan benefited from this territorial integrity card, as you know. We couldn't have any kind of status for ourselves. Now it is our time to just raise this issue, which is working. By the way, as you saw, I guess, Deputy Secretary, Jim O'Brien's testimony. I think you watched it. He was vocal about this. I'm so happy to see that way. I had huge efforts about this, and the Congress have Senate have just passed a bill about ending the aid to the Azerbaijani military. This shows they have started to pay the price of it. So I guess now, sometimes you think you are weak when you lose a war, but if you come to the terms, if you just be smart, it might be a really strength at the same time. But Azerbaijan is doing the mistakes that we did after 1994. We thought, no, we won the war, we will always have the upper hand, we can be maximalist, asking independence for ourselves. That was, as you know, as a maximalist policy. Now Azerbaijan is doing the same mistake. I believe we are going to benefit from this position, pursuing peace by all means, bilateral, with mediators, without mediators, always pursuing peace without making any concessions, because we have no concessions to make further.
Can I be a devil's advocate here? By the way, I agree with everything you said, Garo, but let me be a devil's advocate, which was part of my job in the Joint Staff. I was a devil's advocate, and they appreciated that, at least in areas where I had much more competency than I do in the Caucasus. But this is a good opportunity for him for his maximalist demands. The U.S., as I know U.S. very well, can only focus on one problem at a time. Now they got the Ukraine, and now you see what they're doing. They're focusing on the Israeli thing, and then the Ukraine is hardly being mentioned now. Yeah. I'm not in the Pentagon. I don't know how much, but they're not dropping the Ukraine. But so their attention span. So right now the U.S. is overbooked, and then the EU is the EU. You know it very well. They talk big, very little. They're going to do very little. France talks. I wish there's more than just talking. They're presumably sending some armaments. So again, being a devil's advocate, isn't this a perfect opportunity for Aliyev to do the things you just mentioned, and that is take more issue things, keep his people, his relevance to his people and the dictator he is and the wealth he has built. Putin is, as you know, has very few cards left to play. And he and Aliyev are close, as I understand it, from open source. So this could be so if you agree with all this is all hypotheses. What can be done given these circumstances? Because this period may last. It's not going to last forever. This opportunity for Aliyev may not last forever. So would he take risks? And if he does take risks against Armenia, he may think he may not have to pay a big price. Maybe, I don't know. I'm devil's advocate.
No, there are prices, and I'm just talking with the Turkish government. Still, I have friends there. Not call them friends, of course, just because I worked with them for years, as you know, in the parliament. I always tried to convince them about something. I told them, you are a big country, but big countries, look at USA. They went to Afghanistan. They spent trillions of dollars. Look what they have. No, in Iraq policy, Syrian policy, Libya, and others. No, big countries, can really, let's say, destroy everything. With U.S. Military, they can destroy, can be so destructive. But even they now think about what are the outcomes of what we did in Vietnam, in Afghanistan, and this and that, and there are so many. Turkey is a big country as well. You had a vision about Syria, let's say 10 years ago. Erdogan would be the caliphate of the Islam world, whatever, with Muslim brothers in Egypt. Look where we are in Syria. Look at the Syrian policy. That we are the one of the responsibles of that destruction. Turkey was in Syria, supported jihadists and to destroy Assad regime. Look where we are. And I told them, you can destroy Armenia. It will take maximum a week, even less, to destroy Armenia, with Azeris. But we are not going to be the beneficiary of that policy. I'm sure Russians are going to be. I gave the same example in 1921 when Enver Pasha and Talat Pasha had pan-Turanist dreams. They fought with Armenians, but end game was you lost Azerbaijan and we lost Armenia to the Bolsheviks. So I believe this is the Russian scenario again on the table, and you are not the main actor, in that movie, and you are not going to be the beneficiary if you attack Armenia. If you try to take Zengezur corridor by force, Russia is going to be the actor who is going to control that corridor. Moreover, you're going to destroy a democratic Armenia, which is going to be a Russian orbit. It is not good. It is not in favor of Turkey as well, because Black Sea is going to be controlled by Russia if they win the war, which is likely. What I believe in the midterm. And in Syria, there is Russia on the south of Turkey. And in the east of Turkey, there will be Russia again, a Russian orbit, Armenia. And for the midterm, this is no good for Armenia. As you know, Turkey's traditional enemy is Russia. They fought several times, and all of the wars were lost by Turkey. So when we hear this, the rational Turks, they say, okay, we need to just behave rational. That is what stopped them. Really, I must give myself a little bit credit about this, because 2 months ago, I was so nervous. I put so much energy, you can't believe, onto Turkish politicians, the rational ones, don't do it. You can do it. but you are not going to be the winners of that war. Don't do it. Democratic Armenia should be in your favor, and so you should not attack Armenia. Somehow they stopped. Maybe I can give myself some credit about this. And of course, I have worked with the Biden administration as well to put pressure on Azerbaijan. I was so nervous 2 months ago. They were about to attack Armenia to take the corridor. But how they stopped, second thing was this. Now, I told Biden administration, show them a stick. If you show them a stick, it can't be a military stick, of course. I'm not expecting you to send Marines there, which you can't, to the Black Sea. Let's say it is impossible. No, I know that. No, it can't be a military stick, but it should be an economic stick, which happened like this. Finally, they just told Azeris and Turks, if you attack Armenia, we are going to do everything. Of course, you can have that corridor or whatever, but we are going to make that everything with our power to make that road unviable. That was the message given to Azeris and Turks. And somehow it was another reason why they stopped. First reason was, of course, to tell Azeris and Turks about the end game will be a Russian-controlled mid corridor, which is not in their favor. And second of all, United States started to show them stakes. And the stake was the making that road unviable. But the question is this stake enough to stop them for the midterm? Because now they started to wait. Instead of signing the deal, they are now leaving things to the time. Because next year, United States will have the elections. Europe will have the elections. As you know, when in the election period, establishments or administrations don't care about what's going on in the world so much, because in 2020, during the election period, Azerbaijan attacked Artsakh, as you know, and same thing might happen. So that is why I urge my nation to just be in favor of peace now, not next year. No, if you leave it to time, I don't see that peace is likely to happen. And that is why I believe rational Turks want peace, rational Azeris as well. But no, in our nation is just waiting for the peace. No, they believe it's a necessity. That's why they voted for Pashinyan in the second elections as well. But they are not. They are silent. I believe I'm vocal. I'm just going everywhere to speak about this, to convince my nation to be in favor of peace. But no, I believe with stakes coming from the Western countries, that's important. But the level of the stakes and carrots are important. If you just today I was thinking about this. If you just use so many stakes, let's say, you can just make Aliyev just forget about the peace deal. No, it should be. No, at the same time, they should encourage Aliyev for that as well, because dictators always want to be respected. If you humiliate these dictators, I know Erdogan very well, because he wants to be respected. He wants a telephone call from Mr. Biden. That is what I am working on. I'm just trying to convince Mr. Biden, let's say, Mr. Tony Blinken, to tell him that make it a case about Erdogan. In return of playing a constructive role about Caucasus, you can get this or that, whatever. As you know about the Sweden issue, Erdogan is getting F-16s and $18 billion from the World Bank. So this means America can do some things about when they want something. So because this is the key. If Turkey plays a constructive role, we will have that peace, we will have that border opening, and we will get rid of two so-called enemies in the midterm, which is going to lower the risk of lower the Armenians' existential threat. That is the most important thing, I believe.
But Erdogan knows that actually, and he is using it very cleverly, that strategy of asking something for something else, right?
Exactly. He's the master of it, Baron.
He's a master, yes.
He's the master of it. He plays this game. I know him very well. He cares about his power when he sees a case to be solved. Oh, what am I getting out of it? If he sees he's not getting anything, then he doesn't do anything. But he says, in return of this policy, that policy, you will get this.
Even with Azerbaijan.
You will be respected, let's say. What about a DC visit? Erdogan's DC visit, whatever. I don't know, money or leverage or praising him. This is going to solve the problem. Of course, sometimes what US does is this is wrong. Showing a cold shoulder, they are not doing it completely. Sometimes they are showing him a cold shoulder, but sometimes they are working with him. Or just, as you know, keep your friends close and enemies closer. That policy might work as well. Yeah, just working with him transactionally. I'm not expecting Turkey can be a democracy in the coming years, but Erdogan believes in transactional relations. Then work with him like he understands, like you can get something out of his ambitions.
He's using that strategy also with Azerbaijan, actually, right?
Exactly, of course, because also Aliyev wants to be praised or wants a legacy. Let's say, as you know, every dictator is like this. Sometimes they have weaknesses, and they care about how they are perceived in the world. That's Azerbaijan put so much money about this. Let's give him what he wants then. But in return of a peace deal, which is going to secure Armenia's future.
So I see your arguments regarding Erdogan pretty well. I mean, you put together a very convincing case. And so you started alluding to Aliyev. I mean, again, I only have access to open source right now. I don't have access to, he's playing his cards pretty well. There's those who think he's getting closer to Putin. Others say, well, not so much. I mean, what will Turkey be at the end of the day? The thing that will convince Aliyev, make Aliyev agree to some peace agreement with Armenia. I mean, am I reading you right that the route to that peace is going to have to be through Turkey to Aliyev? Or do you think there's anything the Armenian government can do directly, negotiating or whatever they got to do to reach out to Aliyev to bring peace?
Unfortunately, Turkey doesn't have a Caucasus policy, unfortunately. As you know, there was institutions in Turkey. NGOs were functioning, media were functioning. Everybody was writing about policies. NGOs and think tanks were writing reports about policies, and parliament was functioning. And so many intellectuals were around Erdogan. Now, unfortunately, in Erdogan's inner circle, Erdogan demolished all those institutions. They are not functioning. In the inner circle, there are mostly crazy guys. So, and Erdogan doesn't have a policy. He is changing these policies day to day. So he doesn't have a long-term policy. And these policies, unfortunately, are, let's say, controlled by Azeri Azerbaijani government and the payroll in Ankara, unfortunately. Azerbaijan is paying around 200 media commentators in Ankara. Every day they are talking about, you know, Armenian policies, Zengezur, this and that. You know, so unfortunately, I have so many people in Ankara, friends. They sometimes have. No, that is how we stopped Turkey's position, by the way. There are still some people, but no, policies are not prepared in Ankara, unfortunately. That is what, if we could do it, let's say, things would be different. I believe in that. But I'm happy to say that there are still some actors who believes in peace, no, because they know that with war, Russia will be, control Armenia. So I don't see still, let's say 6 months ago, they promised to open the border, Turkish-Armenian border, but Azerbaijan didn't greenlight it. That is why they have not done it. Lately, Erdogan promised again to open the borders, but it's not happening. Yet they are waiting for a telephone call that's likely to happen. So this means Azerbaijan money is in Turkey, as you know, they invested so much. They are laundering that money, and Russian oil has been laundered in Azerbaijan and Turkey. And Turkey's system is financed by Russian money, Azerbaijani money. So Erdogan cares about money, and that money sustains his system. The West, unfortunately, let's say 5 years ago, 10 years ago, Erdogan could not do it because the money was coming from the West. Tourists were coming from the West. Now they are coming from Arab world, and Azerbaijani corrupt, money is coming to, let's say, Turkey. Erdogan cares about the money, where the money is coming from. But as I told you about the Sweden issue, now the money came from the World Bank, which Mr. Biden ratified. So I guess something like that might be the game changer about Erdogan. And Erdogan doesn't care about small countries, this and but he cares about the United States. He cares about Putin. He wants to be respected by Mr. Biden. He's dying to have a telephone call for Mr. Biden. I guess to game changer thing, there can be two game changers in the world in the South Caucasus, Mr. Putin and Mr. Biden. This is, and we cannot convince Putin for this because Putin wants no peace in Caucasus, which is benefiting him. And we need to work on other guy, Mr. Biden, to convince Erdogan to play a constructive role in return of whatever he can decide.
Okay. Very well. Okay, so what I would do, Garo, I'll work with Garo Paylan. We'll transcribe this. I write up a summary, your key points. I'll send them to you, of course, to review. And
yeah, of course, if you want to make it public, I have to review it because
no. I will send it to you. It will, when I send it to Giray, the summaries, I don't put the names. I only verbally tell him who, so he will know it's from you, but the written stuff will not have your name.
Okay.
Because I don't know where it will go. It go to the Armenian government, and then who knows what happens. So we'll not put the names on. It will be subject matter expert 1, subject matter expert 2, and so on. But even with that, I'll make sure you see whatever I send Giray before I send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
By the way, I want to let you know that about our ARPA issue. I believe, now if you have 2 minutes, I can explain to you. I believe, our institutions mostly, of course, I'm not telling you about ARPA as well, mostly focused on the past, for decades, as you know, and we got stuck in the past. Now we need to focus on the future. I'm just brainstorming with so many people to just have a different strategy, a different vision, about future, because the new generation is not like us, and we can't expect them to be like us, to behave like us. No, you are the second generation after the genocide. I'm the third generation, but the fourth generation is not there at all. Of course, they want justice for the Armenian genocide, but they know with this way, we couldn't achieve it for 198 years, and we will not be able to come to that point even 100 years past, because
that should not be a priority anymore.
Exactly. No, how can this be a priority? That's what I explained. If we can be strong, let's say, if we can build more leverage, let's say, if we can make Armenia a shining star, and if we can really mobilize our nation all over the world to make Armenia strong, to make diaspora strong, then we can have more leverage. Maybe at some point we can find justice about the past. Without future, without a strong Armenia, without a strong nation, we will never ever find justice in the past. That is my point. Yeah. So for this requires to have this vision, to centralize on the future, to make Armenia strong, and whatever is. And I saw we have wonderful people here in the United States and other countries as well. Wherever I go, I find really visionary people, wonderful people in their professions. But we need to mobilize this to convince them to contribute to a vision, or which that vision should be a strong Armenia vision. So this needs a network, an institution. I don't know what it requires, a think tank or whatever. No, how we can use these powerhouses which can contribute a strong Armenian vision. I guess we need to focus on it. And in another session, maybe, if you are available, I want to discuss these issues with your board, ARPA.
Sure, we
can do it. I will be happy about it.
You know, what I was going to suggest is if we do a seminar, online seminar, where you present your case to the people, because our audience is normally highly educated people. They're the people who are really interested in the subject, and they are not noisemakers like, some organizations that we have, unfortunately. So I think it would be very nice if we organize such a seminar, and we can do that if you want in December sometime, whenever you're available.
I will be happy with it, and I can prepare my notes about it, and I can make a presentation to just raise my point. And
very good.
I can have but it is not going to be mine. I'm just raising this. I can't do it, but I believe this is a necessity.
It's a message that has to reach the people. Yes,
yeah, exactly. And then maybe start brainstorming about what should we do together to get to that point. I guess I
would appreciate it if you write an abstract with a title and send it to me with your biography, brief biography, and a picture. Picture, of course, I can find on the internet, but I mean, if you have a good picture that you want to send.
I am.
Okay. If you have my email address.
Yeah.
So if you send that to me, I can put together a flyer and then send it to you and see if everything is good. And then we can agree on a date and we can have that seminar.
Very well. I'm happy to hear that. Okay. I'll do that.
Great. I will appreciate it very much. And I'm sure people will also.
By the way, Garo, we're putting together, started the outline of a white paper. It's just new, about looking 10 years on.
Yeah.
And your name is one of the, you are on the list of potential contributors, but it's going to be looking ahead for Armenia's security over 10 years.
Yeah.
Several sections. It's going to be both a white paper and a panel discussion. But let me send it to you.
Please do.
And then if you have any suggestions, we're working with AUA on that. We have two political scientists from AUA. Seems they're very good, particularly And so let me send that to you and see if you
Please.
have suggestions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
we're working on several panel discussions. Actually, Harayr is taking the lead, and one of them is that, and the other one is, as we were discussing, what are the thought processes of Erdogan and Aliyev vis-a-vis Armenia, and and the security of Armenia, and the all the needs that Armenia might have to secure a peace with Azerbaijan and Turkey.
Yeah. I can contribute if I can, of course.
Great, great. Okay.
I'll mail those to you as soon as we get done here.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And
Thank
I'll
you,
send
Garo.
you the video and see if I'm sure you don't want it to be publicized, but just among our board members, I can send it so that they can watch it.
No, they can, of course, watch me, but I didn't know that it could be public, but just remind them not to make it public. Of course, maybe
Definitely.
as you know, people can take some words out of it, as you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I
And,
understand very well. Yes. Sure.
of course, they can watch.
Do you know how to get it transcribed from
Yes.
voice to text?
Yes.
Oh, that would be a lot easier for me because then I don't have to listen to it. So if you can send me the text transcribed.
Actually, the YouTube has a way of transcribing, but it's not very good. And then I can edit it and then send it to you.
Please, I'll use it to as an input to the paper I'm pulling together. Okay, perfect.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate your
Garo,
time,
very,
Garo.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Namanabes. Thank you.
And let me know whenever you need any help. I
Thank
can
you,
send
Baron.
my phone number, and then you can call me whenever you like.
Thank you, Baron. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.